Good afternoon, Rotarians, friends, and guests. My name is Becky Fields, and I am the president of the Rotary Club of Tulsa. Let's begin our program today with an invocation from Prima Donna Braddock, song and pledge from Michelle Place, visitor introductions from past president Ed Monette, and a memorial resolution from past president Matt Davis.
Creator and sustainer of all that is or will ever be, accept our thanks for this day and all its blessings. We ask that you guide and direct our club, its leaders, and our actions. Grant that each of us may feel our responsibility to the Rotary, to our community, to our country, and indeed to all countries and people. We have stayed focused on the objectives we have for the world: peace, tranquility, and exemplifying true sisterhood and brotherhood. We pray freedom from hunger, from oppression, from sickness. As we approach the holiday season, we ask that you bless and provide for the families who are in a great need of a miracle. For those who have storms in their lives, we know that all storms do not disrupt our lives, but instead clear our paths so that we can continue to work. We can continue for the work that you have called us to do. Bless our visitors, fellowship today, and bless this food for the nourishment of our bodies in your service. Amen.
As we honor our veterans this week, let us sing our national anthem. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light the glowing hill and her twilight's last gleaming, whose front stripes and bright stars were the perilous fight? Oh, when once we watched, where so gallantly streaming, and rocket's red glare, the most bursting in air, they blew through the night, but our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star spangled banner yet wave, when the land of the I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to welcome all our guests and visitors to the Rotary Club of Tulsa. Before we get started, most of you probably know that Saturday, November 16th, will be the 112th birthday of the state of Oklahoma. But it's also a very dark day in OU history, because on that very day in 1957, November 16th, the little Irishman from Notre Dame stopped OU's 47-game winning streak. November 16th, a dark day for OU, and coincidentally, that very day was also a dark day for my parents, because I was born right there. So, as is our custom, I will introduce our guests and their host Rotarian, if they will briefly stand so we can look at you. Sit back down and we'll hold our applause and greet you all in unison. Duff Weddle has a very special guestesses, three of them as a matter of fact: Carolyn DeCamp, John DeCamp, and Catherine DeCamp. Jerry Barrientos has with her two guests, Cheryl Doyle and Cody. Oh, no, not Cody, he's next. There it is, Marvin Spears, excuse me. There we are. I'm getting out of order, sorry. All right, Cody Cutshall, the spouse of Ashley Cutshall and son-in-law of Richard Holmes. Scott Philstrop has with him Rick Stearns. Jerry Bates has with him David Kay. Jess Guthrie is the guest of Mike Rogers. Becky Fields has Mark Burton. Let's welcome all our guests. We have one visiting Rotarian from the Sand Springs Club, Harlan Pinkerton. Hey, Harlan. Thank you all, and please come back.
Be it resolved that members of the Rotary Club of Tulsa learned with great sorrow of the death of Michael Dan Turner on March 24, 2019. He was an active and giving member of the Rotary Club of Tulsa. You didn't have to know Michael long to discover his intense passion for being a father to his two daughters, Madison, age 18, and Megan, 14. He also was passionate about his church, Boston Avenue Methodist, about Rotary, about education, and about the Marines. Every parent learns as they go how to see to the needs of their children. Michael became a strong advocate for special needs children, co-founding with his wife Lisa Project Special Courage, a nonprofit to help parents navigate the maze of regulations involved in getting help. Michael was an active member of Boston Avenue Church, serving every week as an usher at the 11 o'clock service and taking particular care of anyone needing special help, grabbing wheelchairs and walkers and setting them up for people leaving the sanctuary. He was also an active member of the security committee, where his broad shoulders and intimidating look belied his sweet nature. Michael excelled early in life in education at Perkins Tryon High School, going on to earn an associate degree of applied science and electronics technology at Oklahoma State, a bachelor's in industrial technology, and a master's in student services management at Northeastern State, where he also served as chief of staff in the office of the president, and finally a doctorate of education from Oklahoma State. At the time of his death, he was the Veterans Liaison Officer at Southern Nazarene University in Tulsa. Michael proudly served his country as an artillery officer in the U.S. Marine Corps stationed in Somalia, earning the rank of captain. He would go on to serve in the reserves for 8 years. I move that this resolution be adopted by a standing vote of the Rotary Club of Tulsa. May we rise for a moment of silent tribute to the memory of Michael Turner.
Michael was a wonderful Rotarian and one of our amazing veterans. And today we get to honor our veterans. Over 100 years ago this month, World War I came to an end. At least 1,800 Rotarians from North America and Great Britain served in the military during that war. Hundreds more enlisted in the Red Cross, the YMCA, and various government departments. More than 50 gave their lives. I'm really glad to honor our veterans today because I know personally what you all have given to our country. You see, I'm from a military family, a very proud military family. In fact, I married an Army guy, and my daughter was born on post at Fort Bliss in El Paso, Texas. And both of my grandparents, grandfathers were in the military. And I have a cute story for you today about my granddad, one of my heroes. He was a Navy pilot, and he was flying, training to fly off of aircraft carriers during World War II. And you could not be married at that time to do that job. So he and my grandmother secretly got married while he was in lieutenant training school, and they had to keep it a secret that whole time from their family and from everyone so he could be qualified. So he was in Pensacola training to leave for war, and he had one last test to take, and he tells about how he was supposed to land this big plane in a small space because he was going to be landing on aircraft carriers. And so he said, he would show us how the plane would be coming in like this, and the aircraft carrier was rocking, and so they would teach them how to line up everything and how to line up with the aircraft carrier, but you also had to shut it down pretty quickly to make that stop on the aircraft carrier. So they had this circle they had to land in. And so anyway, he had 3 tries to land in that circle, and then he passed. And on day 1, he went outside the circle the first time, went outside the circle the second time, went outside the circle on the third time. And his commanding officer said, well, good job, Goldner. You are now in the Pacific. You have done nothing for your country. Go home and think about this, and we may let you try again tomorrow. So he goes home and tells my grandmother, he was like, I've done all this training, they need me, I need to be going, and I cannot believe I did this. And my little grandma, who's tiny, she's just tiny, and he was tall and big, and she was tiny, and she just looked at him and she said, Charles, if you would like to be married to me in real life, in front of a real ceremony and a real pastor whenever you get back from war, then you better land in that circle tomorrow. And he did on the first shot. So today, we love to honor our heroes. Thank you for your courage, for your sacrifice, the sacrifices none of us know, the sacrifices that you've lived with your whole life, that your families have lived with for your whole life, in defending our honor, duty, and country. I would like for all of our veterans to please stand at this time, and let's give them a round of applause. Thank you for your service. Now for a special video for our Veterans Day tribute. To all of you who gave and all of you who serve, thank you does not even seem big enough, but please just know that we are forever grateful. A special thank you to this week's meeting sponsors, Moody's Jewelry, Kevin Moody, Hall Estill with John O'Connor, Tom Klinda, and Daniel Ketchum, Ameritrust, Harvey Rowe, and Yale Cleaners, Bill and John Rothrock. Thank you, sponsors. We appreciate you. We have one committee meeting following the program today, Rotary Youth Exchange in room 232 and 233, an exciting time. And in conjunction with that, at this time, I would like to recognize Caroline DeCamp and her parents, Catherine and John. If you guys would just stand really quickly so everyone can look at you. I know they all know you. Thank you guys for being here today. Caroline is applying for our Study Abroad Scholarship presented through Rotary's International Youth Exchange Program. After our meeting today, Caroline will be interviewed by our club's Youth Exchange Committee. At the beginning of December, she will participate in district interviews along with the other applicants. If accepted for our scholarship, she will spend next year abroad living with Rotary families, attending a high school, and totally immersing herself in the language and culture of her host country. Good luck to you, Caroline. We are so proud of you, and thanks, Mom and Dad, for allowing her to do this and represent our Rotary Club in this way. We're so proud of you. I don't know if you guys remember, I'm sure you do, but she was our four-way speech contest. I couldn't think of the term. A couple years ago, right? It was 2 years ago now. She was our winner. So she's an amazing, gifted, smart young lady. So we can't wait to see what you do. In upcoming programs on November 20th, Aaron Bolze, and November 27th, we have no meeting for Thanksgiving that week. So I know a lot of you will be traveling and spending time with your family, so we'll have that week off. And speaking of the holiday season, there is one sound that can be heard all throughout Tulsa during the hustle and bustle, and that is the ringing of the bells. So Thursday, December 5th is our day to ring the bells for Salvation Army. Sign up today. That's always a fun time, and just a good time to get to know another Rotarian as you stand there and chat over the hopefully not too cold of a day, right, Ed? Is that, yeah. Okay, so sign up out in the foyer today, and Ed Monette is our committee chair for that, so if you have any questions, make sure and see him. And then also in the Christmas spirit, Shop with a Cop will take place on December 7th, which is a Saturday, from 9 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. at the Target located at 1701 South Yale. This annual event, sponsored by the Rotary Club of Tulsa and the Tulsa Fraternal Order of Police, brings together more than 50 volunteers from both organizations to help certain students from Celia Clinton Elementary shop for their families in need for the holidays. Each student is first teamed up with a police officer so the child can select presents for their family, and then the Rotarian goes behind them and actually is shopping for presents for that child. And if you haven't done this one, this is the event to sign up for this year. It is just so moving, and those of us who volunteer every year. You'd have to kind of probably knock us down to get us not to come back. Everyone comes back for that one year in and year out. It's just so fun to see the kids' smiling faces and just hang out with them for the day. It's a ton of fun. So sign-up sheets for that are on your table. And next up, we have Sergeant Time with Tana, our Sergeant at Arms.
Hi.
Hello.
Long time no see.
Yeah.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm freezing. How is everybody? I feel like this is an on-again, off-again relationship. I'm like bi-weekly. All right. Well, I'm back this week, so you're welcome. Just a friendly reminder, there are the bid sheets for the OU-TCU game and the OSU versus Kansas game in the lobby. So if you want those, be sure to write your bid down. So it's cold. And on Sunday, I'm pretty sure this was me. Right? I mean, I was at a soccer game. I was like, this might be the prettiest day of the year. And then on Monday,
Yeah.
it was sleeting.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And my girlfriend was like, it's going to snow tomorrow. And I was like, you're crazy. So bear with it, please. Oh, my gosh. Thank you guys for rolling out. I was actually outside asking Tommy Lynn a question, and they were asked about attendance. And she was like, I think just people were scared of getting out because of the cold. And honestly, I can't blame them. I'm not much for cold weather myself. But it is fine time. Mike Homan, are you here? Thank you so much. So for the future Sarge, if you're in the room, Mike did say on the record, I'm always down to donate $100 to show a picture of his sweet granddaughter, Emmy Kate. So cute. Yes, round of applause, everybody. Wake up. Gordon Greer, are you here? Oh. Okay, well, Gordon donated $200 for his birthday on October 28th, so happy birthday, Gordon, if you see him. Give him a big thank you and happy birthday. Miss Karen Keith, she donated $66 and said, find me 66 in honor of Route 66. Happy birthday on November 6th. Karen, are you here? Oh my God. Ugh. Well, give her a round of applause. And Daniel Ketchum, are you here? Yes. Okay, so this was, I don't know if you remember last week, I did skip over it very quickly. I was like, do you remember? Okay, nobody remembers, so it's good. So Daniel so graciously donated $355 in honor of his wife, Melanie, and their 30th wedding anniversary last month, and for his 55th birthday on October 5th. So thank you so much. Jerry Barrientos. I know you're here somewhere. You've always got a guest with you. Where? Oh, okay. Sorry. I'm going to get glasses. That's what's going to happen, I promise, at some point. She donated $100, saying $40 for her 40th birthday. I put it up there, so I don't tell anyone else what happens at Rotary stays in Rotary, I guess, in this instance. $50 for the recipient of Tulsa Chamber Small Business Connections Rising Star Award, Young Entrepreneur. Congratulations. I saw that. What an amazing honor. And $10 gratitude for our club's leadership and mentorship. Thank you so much, Jerry. I saw Lisa and Dave in there too. I was like, we need to get them in, both of them in the club. You should bring them as guests next time. Hi, Camp. Are you here today? Hi. $500. Thank you so much. He wanted to donate to the Waterwell Project, and this is in honor of his birthday on November 6th. Thank you so much. I've got one more. I think one more. Linda Baker, are you here? Oh, $25, Linda, for her Rotary anniversary on October 29th. That is, who did that? Mike? If you have a donation or anything that you would like to honor up here, please contact me. Thank you guys so much.
Thanks, Tana. Our Rotarian of the day is John Stava. Upon receiving a BA in economics, John entered the Air Force in 1966. John left active duty in 1970 at the end of his tour of duty as a forward air controller in the Vietnam War. Stava moved to Tulsa in 1970 and focused on construction and real estate investing while also serving as a pilot in the Oklahoma Air National Guard. Stava retired from the Air National Guard with 30 years of service as a lieutenant colonel and is recently retired from Stava Building Corporation, a company he founded in 1988. Please welcome John Stava.
Somebody else must have written that. Wasn't me. It did occur to me as I was getting dressed this morning that there are still men serving and having been served in Afghanistan when I was discharged from the military service. That's self-proclaimed. I'm here to introduce Terry Hill to you. Terry was raised in Kellyville, joined the Army as a nothing, came out of the Army some years later as a captain, flew helicopters, which is easy to land in a spot. The planes I flew couldn't land in a spot or a circle, but Terry certainly could, and he could tell you all about that. He was a UH-20, I think it was, Black Hawk helicopter pilot in Afghanistan. His various experiences included being a test pilot, which in the Air Force was a functional test pilot. When the maintenance people do something to the airplane that they don't know is going to work, they ask a pilot to go fly it. And in Terry's case, actually, he was experimenting with aeromedical devices, which as an aeromedical test pilot, gave him some really interesting experiences, and I certainly hope you'll share those with us today. Getting out of the Army, Terry started a business for additive manufacturing, and I really know very little about that, but I do understand that it's like a 3D printer, and it perhaps is a 3D printer in a larger scale than what I would have imagined. But I'm anxious to hear about that. Among his other achievements, Terry has started 2 foundations, training other veterans in additive manufacturing. And then there's another one, Terry, you'll have to tell me what it is. It's RAG Friday. I don't know what that is, but we'll be asking you. If you'll come up, we'd love to have you speak to us. Good-looking dog. Thank you so much. You bet. There you go. All right. Hey, Jones. Jones, come.
All right. Thank you so much, 2. This is Jonesy, my service dog, PTSD service dog. I've been paired with him for about 2 years, so if he alerts on anything, I'm going to have to take a second and just attend to him, but he'll more likely to sleep. He's also our VP of customer service at Rapid Application Group. So if you have an issue, you call in, you talk to Jonesy, and everything's good. Also, there's some key people I'd really like to thank. First off, Miss Becky Fields, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to come up here and share my story and our story. Tina, thank you for allowing us to work back and forth with the presentations. And really the biggest one is Mr. Scott Philstrip. Mr. Scott has been a key player in Rapid Application Group, is one of my personal mentors. He has a lot of connections, and he's really helped out quite a bit. And also, do I have till 12:50? Is that right? 12:50, okay. So I get excited a lot, and I talk fast, so you may have to listen fast. But again, thank you so much for the opportunity. Okay. All right, so about myself, again, raised in Kellyville, Oklahoma. Spent 13 years in the U.S. Army. I always wanted to help people, so I went into the field of being a medical evacuation pilot. Before that, I was an E5, an engineer, combat engineer, but I always wanted to help people. So I attended Northeastern State University in Oklahoma, in Tahlequah, where I got my bachelor's in finance with the emphasis in investments. After that, I commissioned as a lieutenant and went on. Spent 5 years overseas, multiple deployments, Afghanistan, Montenegro, doing humanitarian service, doing combat tours, and it was really humbling to serve this great nation. That's my little family there. We're actually packing Blue Star boxes for the troops overseas. That's my wife, Julie, and my daughter, Kaylee, and my son, Carson. And then there's my buddy out there, Jonesy. He'll be sleeping here in a second. So this is my job, right here on the screen. So this is an urgent medevac. We're in the middle of Afghanistan. I always flew the aircraft like I stole them, and they weren't mine. But as we come in, you'll see the aircraft kind of juke a little bit, and that was because we were receiving enemy fire. So right there, we had to make the decision: either we land, or we a little bit of, or we scared and take off. So we always decided to land on that point, and doesn't matter if it's in the middle of a firefight, 2 a.m., it doesn't matter. Our job was to pick up anybody at any time, anywhere. And kind of how I live my life is failure is not an option. Upper left-hand corner, you'll see, we carry the Red Crosses, so you'd think, due to the Geneva Convention, that the Taliban wouldn't shoot at you. But what happens is they actually use those targets as targets. And through the Geneva Convention, we cannot carry any type of weapons other than a 9mm and an M4 in case we go down, which I went down in 2010, down by the Pakistan border, and had to start the evasion process. That is on the landing zone, so that's when we're at the most susceptible, was during landings and taking off. That was a 7.62mm round that entered the cockpit. But at this point, this is just another day at the office. We were flying 13, 14, 15 missions a day and night. And a lot of people, thank you for my service, but it's really weird, I guess, to us, because as veterans, to be thanked for our service, because this is what we were doing when we were there fighting for a great nation and great Americans. Lower left, as I said before, we picked up anybody, anywhere, anytime. That's actually a Taliban member. As you can see, he's handcuffed. And he actually was captured, and we picked him up 3 hours after he set an IED and killed a bunch of Americans, unfortunately. So it takes a lot of grace from the good Lord to still pick up somebody like this, an evil person, and take them to the hospital. Took a lot of strength from our whole crew. But again, we picked up anybody, anywhere, anytime. So this is moving on. This is really when I was introduced to additive manufacturing or 3D printing. This is when I was a research pilot at the Aeromedical Research Laboratory, and it was a great assignment. It was a very selective process. There's only 2 positions in the entire Army for this. Was lucky enough to be selected for one of them, and I was just solving a problem. And I think that I've always had a knack for identifying a problem and then utilizing failure is not an option to solve that problem. So we had a little 3D printer in the basement of the research laboratory. And on the right-hand side, upper right, that is all the head tracking devices that we utilized inside the cockpit. And this is about a $25 million simulator that we had. It was climate controlled. We could do galvanic skin responses. We did EEGs, EKGs, and we were basically measuring pilot-induced stress at 1,000 times a second. And I was brought in because of my crash down by the Pakistan border. It was under low illumination, low visibility conditions, and this was the exact thing that we were researching to combat. So it was an honor to give my feedback directly to the warfighter and to save other people's lives. So we just went through the basic research and development process, rapid prototyping. I didn't know what that was then, but utilized a So we just utilized a 3D printer downstairs and then off from there. So that was really the proverbial light bulb that went off. In my mind, I said, wow, 3D printing, that's really cool. We can do a lot of stuff with that. That was even before I left the Army. So October of 2016, I was medically retired from the military. Just due to pretty severe PTSD, I was medically grounded. And at the core of my heart that I told myself that if I can't fly anymore and I can't pick up people in the worst day of their life, I've got to do something else. So retired out in 2016. And then I started a company. So when I retired out in 2016, I went to work for an aerospace company called Limco Air Repair. And I raised my hand to the president because I was still a young, ambitious, thought I was still a young captain, wanted to save the world, wanted to do everything and really grow this business. So I raised my hand to the president of the organization, and I said, hey, sir, I'd like to implement additive manufacturing and robotic welding inside the company. He said, Terry, that's phenomenal. I would like for you to do that as well. So I spent 8 months program managing the implementation of additive manufacturing or 3D printing, same thing, and robotic welding. I briefed the board of directors in Israel because it was an Israeli-owned company. They said, Terry, this is phenomenal, but we're not going to invest the money. I said, well, I see my mission now. So I resigned on the spot and started Rapid Application Group out of my home office. Since then, I teamed up and partnered with my really good friend. You'll see he's the tall one there, Jason Dickman. And what I've really grasped onto, especially as a young commander in the Army, was it's not about how good you are, it's how good you are about the people that you surround yourself with. And Jason is a prime example of that. His first 3D printer that he was operating was when I was 2 years old. Not calling him old or anything, don't tell him that. But what I'm saying is 3D printing has been around so long, and to have a partner like that as the COO and the partner of the company is really phenomenal. So we have a lot of depth with regards to additive manufacturing and 3D printing. We have a phenomenal team. We have 10 on staff. Annalena here is our marketing manager. She also helps us run the Rag Friday Foundation. We'll talk about it here in a second. But since inception of July of 2017, it goes to show you that, again, failure is not an option. So since July 4th of 2017, we're the first disabled veteran-owned 3D printing company in North America. In 2018, we were the fastest growing company in Oklahoma at 3,100%. We're the first disabled veteran-owned 3D printing company in North America to be AS9100 certified, which is a quality certification that is extremely tough to get. But you can't do work with Lockheed Martin and Bell Helicopters and Airbus Helicopters unless you have these types of certifications. So really proud of that. We have 10 employees. Started out in my home office, and we quickly grew. We just bought 5 more 3D printers. And on a side note, in the middle of everyone's table, you'll see a sphere. Okay, you can pass around and you can arm wrestle on who can take that home with them. But so that is a 3D printed part that is printed out of nylon 12 powder through a sintering process. That's not put together. That's not injection molded. That's all one print that came out together. So that is kind of a quick overview of 3D printing. So again, a quick history of Rapid Application Group. Started out of my home office. 2 months into it, Airbus Helicopters called and they said, "Hey Terry, do you realize that you're the only disabled veteran-owned 3D printing company in North America?" And I said, "Of course I do." I had no clue. Like any good entrepreneur, had no clue what's going on. So Jason was still with 3D Systems and on the road, and I called him up and said, "Hey man, we've got a problem. Airbus Helicopters wants to come and tour our facility. I'm in my pajamas right now, and we don't have a facility." My wife was actually starting her company as well at the same time, and I remember I would get up every morning and get into a 3-piece suit, and I'd sit at my desk and I'd call 60 companies a day, 30 in the morning, 30 in the afternoon. And my wife would actually critique. She would say, "Well, I wouldn't buy anything from you." And I said, but they should. And she said, "No, but you're not in the military anymore." I said, "Okay, I understand." So we quickly moved into a 1,300 square foot manufacturing facility. We bought our first printer in January 1st of 2018. And within almost less than 2 calendar years, we have 11 printers now, 10 employees, 4 veterans that we put through our Veteran to Additive Manufacturing Certificate course. We support everyone from SpaceX to American Airlines, to Boeing, the C-130 program, and we just sent out a press release that we're moving into our new 15,000 square foot facility. So, thank you. And I have to say that, again, going back to surrounding yourself with great people will make you a good leader, and I wholeheartedly feel that. All the success from this company is on the shoulders of everyone that has been with me from day one. Jason, the whole team, and I couldn't brag on them more. So what can you do with 3D printing? So this is one of our big programs. This is for the C-130 program. So these are micro veins that are printed out of nylon powder that we infuse glass with. We have to heat treat them, do all this special processing, huge quality control, but they actually affix to the aft portion, exterior portion of a C-130 towards the back of it, towards the ramp. And what it does is it breaks up the parasitic drag, so it's non-lift producing drag, towards the aft portion of the C-130, and it actually reduces fuel consumption by 3 to 6%. If you think about those numbers, that's pretty substantial, given that a C-130 burns about 15 to 20,000 pounds of fuel per hour. 3 to 6% of that is massive when it comes to the U.S. Air Force. That's huge. So that is just a quick snapshot, one little bitty program that additive manufacturing is supporting the warfighter, and Jones is asleep, so that's good. That's where 3D printing has come. The material science, we're now printing in metal, titaniums, aluminums, stainless steels, and it's really evolved to a full production mainstream way of making parts. So there's our new 15,000 square foot facility, the most state of the art additive manufacturing facility in the state of Oklahoma. We've had a lot of dignitaries come through just because of what we're doing in the advanced manufacturing space, but also what we're doing with our foundation as well. We'll also be the only company in the United States that has a SCIF, or a secured facility inside of a facility that we can do more classified 3D printing for some organizations that don't exist, if you know what I'm talking about. And then just some workforce development here. So I noticed that when I left the military and I wanted to learn about 3D printing, there was nothing other than MIT. So I went to MIT and did a advanced additive manufacturing course, and that was all well and good. But we're calculating the surface tension on drops of 3D printing material. That doesn't really help me. Theory-based, yes, but hands-on, making the mission happen every day, that didn't really help me out so much. So I said, you know what? We're going to start a veteran to additive manufacturing certificate course. That is there. That's it in the middle. Jamie on the left he was an E5, first one through our course. Ned on the right was a staff sergeant in the U.S. Air Force, C-130 Loadmaster. And now we have 4 veterans that have completely gone through our veteran to additive manufacturing course. So we bring them in. We teach them about everything from file manipulation to how to set up the printers, how to, we teach them so much they could leave our facility, our company, and go start their own 3D printing company. But what we have in-house as far as the group of individuals, the atmosphere that we have, nobody ever wants to leave. In fact, Ned volunteers his time because he's unemployable by the VA, but we can't ever get him to leave. So can't really fire a guy that didn't work for you, but it's good. Down below, we do a ton of tours for engineering students to teach them about additive manufacturing, teach them about 3D printing, teach them about business, and something that we really, really enjoy doing as well. And then on to our foundation. So if we weren't busy enough, October of this year, we just launched the Rag Friday Foundation. And the Rag Friday Foundation is established to eradicate veteran suicide so others may live. This is very near and dear to my heart. This is something that I've struggled with myself. Sitting in the shower and just being done with life. And it's something extremely tough to articulate how someone gets there. But I can tell you it's real. And if I wasn't surrounded by friends and family that love me, that are doing the same things that we are trying to do, a month ago I would not be here. So, but also what it goes to show is, just like we were talking earlier, is there's power in people. And veterans are very powerful. A lot of times we don't understand how to articulate, how to ask for help. I'll be the first one to tell you, I will never call somebody and say, hey, I need help. That's just it's not who we are. So we're taking the more proactive step in reaching out and just loving on people, providing a source of love, if you will, to those that are going through the worst time of their life. So RAG is obviously Rapid Application Group, but we wanted to mean more so than that. So remembering all gone. So we want to remember those that have returned, those that have given the ultimate sacrifice, and those that have came back and still fighting the battle within. This is our first event that we had here. This was just last Saturday. This was a 5K event that we did in memorial of Sean Osherman. He's one of the Marines that I picked up that unfortunately didn't make it in my aircraft. Leaves a lasting impression on my life. But we're able to gather and show respect for Sean, but also gather and just show love for others, if you will. So this was very, very powerful. And in some of our core values as we move to eradicate veteran suicide is faith, family, fitness, and friends. And it's something that I've noticed in my life is if one of those pillars is not holding up their part, if you will, if I've missed church or I've missed being around my friends, if I've missed doing fun things, or I missed going being around my family, then it really affects me quite a bit. So that is what we are focusing on when we discuss what we're doing to eradicate veteran suicide. We all hear the 22 a day, the 22 push-ups, and that's all great. I think everyone here has heard about PTSD and the 22 a day, but we're asking ourselves, what are you doing about it? And just like the Rotary Club has done what they've done to eradicate polio, which is phenomenal. The last time I was here, I went straight back to the foundation, straight back to the company. I said, you've got to understand what an organization, when they come together, that they can do. And just as you all have eradicated polio, it is our mission, until I have a breath in my body, we will end veteran suicide. So in closing, first off, again, thank you so much for the opportunity to speak. Mr. Philstrup, thank you for being a close mentor and a good friend. We discussed myself, where the company has came, what we're doing with the Rag Friday Foundation. If you want to get involved, the Rag Friday Foundation, there's our information. And I'll just end with the same thing that I've told my soldiers in combat is never let your mission, or never let your proximity to the mission determine your self-worth. Meaning, just as the Rotary Club has affected people in the most remote portions of the earth, we're also trying to do the same thing with veteran suicide. So just because we're not physically maybe grabbing that veteran, or you may not be physically giving the polio vaccines, what you're doing here is affecting them there. So never let your proximity to the mission determine your self-worth. Thank you. So I've got about a minute and 44 seconds left. If I could get some questions, yes, sir.
Terry, tell me a little bit more about the titanium. How in the world do you print titanium?
Yep. So right back there, Annalena, there's a part. So a lot of it is just magic. So a lot of the polymer-based systems in the metal printing as well, it's all done out of a powder. So powder to part process. This is a titanium piece. So we are actually growing parts. So we take a three-dimensional file in space, like this right here. We slice it at 4/1000ths of an inch. So this three-dimensional model in space, we put it through a slicing program. And all 3D printing is a layering process. So if you went home and you took a hot glue gun and you made a box, let that cool for a second, you made another box the exact same width and height on top of that, did it again, you just 3D printed. All we're doing is taking sliced data at less than a human hair, and we're building this just layer by layer. So on the metal 3D printing side, it's a lot like the polymer-based. You have a big, expensive machine with very expensive powder, and inside of it has heating coils. So it heats the titanium up right below the melting point. Then you have a 100-watt laser that comes down and traces each cross-section. So if you stopped the build, say right here, at this point, and you looked in it, you'd be looking at this because it's just drawing each section, but at a human hair height. So that, with a bunch of magic and a bunch of money, makes 3D printing. One second, sir. Yes, sir.
What's the ballpark? How long would it take to build that piece that you're holding?
A build like this, in what we want to do for economies of scale, we want to pack the entire chamber. So, for example, a machine like this is about 1.1 million, and it's $30,000 every time you fill it up with powder. So if you're not, again, going back to the depth of knowledge that we have in the company with Jason in his experience, you crash a build like that, it's tough to keep going. But a part like this is a part of about a 24-hour print. So we load the machine up in the morning, come back the next morning, pull the parts out. We've got to machine them because it's metal. Have to do some post-processing, meaning we have to, when this grows and it prints, it'll have supports on it. So depending on which way that we print the model, depending on the strength requirements that the customer needs, the surface quality that they need, that they require, there's an infinite amount of ways that you can print something like this. But more, if you are greater than a 30-degree angle, it will grow supports as well. So we have to machine those off. Hope that answers your question. Sir?
What's the strength of a part that's 3D printed versus a part that wasn't 3D printed?
Yeah, great question. So the question is, what is the strength with regards to other types of alloys and how they're manufactured? So the hierarchy of metals would be castings, billet. Studies have shown from MIT that metal 3D printing is just as strong or stronger than billet, and then forging. So that's kind of the hierarchy of we're showing the same strength characteristics as a full billet piece. Yes. Yes, sir. How do we identify veterans in needs? So one of the ways we do that is we're really, really engaged in the veteran community. We have a lot of outreach programs that we work with the Coffee Bunker and other organizations, but just a lot of it's through social media. We are so out there with a company, with a foundation that a lot of times they just come to us. So hopefully that answers your question. Thank you. Any more questions? I'm about 1 minute over. Okay. Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Sorry to hear that. Thank you so much. Okay. Thank you.
Wow. I'm impressed, as I'm sure you are as well. And I don't even know why I'm impressed, because every veteran I've ever hired are some of the best employees I've ever had. They're the best people to work with. And I think it's a special type of person that actually goes and lays down their life for other people. But then also our military just turns out these great leaders. And Terry, it's just so impressive all that you're doing. And you're not just out there even for yourself, but you're even giving back. And everything was just amazing. Thank you so much. I typically wouldn't do this, and I hope you don't mind, Terry, but the book that we present to Celia Clinton this week is You Make Me Happy. And he inscribed in it, "Keep going and never quit. You are stronger than you think." Captain Terry Hill. That's amazing. That sums you up, I can tell. Veterans are a symbol of what makes us great. And in closing today, we want to do something a little bit differently. And I know you guys are all humble and you really don't like the spotlight, so I could be in trouble for this. However, we're going to do it anyway. So if everyone would stand with me, please. And we are going to, as our tradition, we love to play the branches of the military each song. And so whenever you hear your song, whichever branch you are in, will you come to the front of the stage down here with your group? And we would just love to recognize you. You guys will just stay up here. Navy, if you'll join us. Thank you. You bet. Thank you so much. We are forever grateful, and we talk a lot in Rotary about being agents of change. Folks, these are your original agents of change. Now go change the world.